I'll be damned. Bomani Jones has managed to make it into the headlines for something other than being fired by ESPN, or soon to be fired by ESPN. Now, of course, you already know. Bomani Jones did not make headlines for his opinion on anything that's happened on a football or basketball court. Bomani Jones makes headlines by having DeMaurice Smith, the NFLPA Director, on his Barely Listened To podcast to talk about the dead horse of racism in the NFL. I'm going to go over a couple of highlights from the interview with you. It's about 30 minutes long. I listened to it. And once again, we're going to bust right through this myth of systemic racism in the NFL. But before we get to DeMaurice Smith and Bomani Jones for victimizing anyone who is not a white male, I wanted to get to Stephen A. Smith for just 1 second. I know most of you guys don't watch Woke Take. I can't blame you. There's hardly anyone watching Woke Take these days. Ratings are in the pooper. But the reason I wanted to call this one little thing to your attention is because it proves something that I said to you a few weeks ago. Remember when the rumors were going around about Max Kellerman being fired from Woke Take? I think this was back late August. Outkick at the time, they released some of the speculated reasons that Stephen A. Smith wanted Max Kellerman off the show. And one of those reasons was because Max Kellerman is smarter than Stephen A. I told you guys at the time, the reason they don't have anyone opposite Stephen A. Smith to counterpoint his arguments on racism and social justice is because ESPN knows Stephen A. would come off looking like the dumbass that he is on those subjects. This morning on Woke Take, both Kendrick Perkins and Jay Williams took the side of Kyrie Irving on his vaccination stance. As you know, Kyrie Irving has been a constant target of Stephen A. Smith the past week or so. Both Kendrick Perkins and Jay Williams were siding with Kyrie on the personal choice argument, and Stephen A. lost control. He started yelling and screaming. It was a full-blown meltdown. I encourage you to go check it out. This is what Stephen A. Smith does when he's losing an argument. This is the reason ESPN doesn't put a Clay Travis on their opposite Stephen A. Smith. I just thought it was interesting. I wanted to share it with you. I would play the clip for you, but you guys know YouTube's not going to allow that. So let's get back to DeMaurice Smith and Bomani Jones. Both of these guys are trying to make the argument that because of these John Gruden emails, there is a system-wide problem in the NFL. The NFL's against black people. The NFL's anti-gay. White men are keeping minorities out of the NFL. And it's not only DeMaurice Smith and Bomani Jones doing this. The woke media is doing the same damn thing. This John Gruden situation fits right into their narrative. The NFL is racist, the NFL is homophobic, it's full of toxic masculinity, and we need heroes like Bomani Jones and DeMaurice Smith to come save the day. DeMaurice Smith said that he fears NFL teams are making race-based decisions. And this is such a tired argument. DeMaurice Smith, he seems like an intelligent guy. Bomani Jones, he's an intelligent dude. Sometimes I find it hard to believe they actually believe this bullshit, but apparently they do. This is the result of decades of some black people living with a victim mentality. The system's against us. There is no inclusion in the NFL. How in the hell can you look at the demographics of the NFL and say it's not inclusive? If anything, DeMaurice Smith is an example of inclusion in the NFL. This dude had zero experience, none, when he was hired as the director of the NFLPA. He had zero football experience. He was a damn lawyer, but he was hired because they thought he was the best candidate. If anyone has an argument about inclusion in professional sports and the NFL, it is every other race besides African Americans. They make up 70% of the NFL, 75, 80% of the NBA. But black people aren't included in Major League Baseball. Well, whose fault is that? Asians aren't included in the NBA. Should teams start making room for Asian players? No. Because teams in professional sports don't make race-based decisions. They make talent-based decisions. See, for years, they argued that there weren't enough black quarterbacks in the NFL. It's the system. The system is against black quarterbacks. It was not the system. You look at draft boards in the 80s, 90s, there weren't very many black quarterbacks available to be drafted. Now, they can't make that argument anymore. Most of the top players in the league are black quarterbacks. So now they switch this to coaching. The NFL is against black men being head coaches. DeMaurice Smith and Bomani Jones, they brought up this point. But there is no merit to this argument. Across the NFL, the number of minority coaches doubled this past offseason. I'm talking about coordinator positions. It doubled. 18% in 2020, 35% in 2021, almost doubled. 12 were interviewed for head coaching positions. 2 minority head coaches were hired. 2 hired out of 7 open jobs. That is almost 30% of the head coaching vacancies going to minority coaches. You look at the demographics of the NFL in terms of coaches, that number makes sense. These people are screaming fire when there is no fire. The next thing you know, they'll be bitching about the lack of minority kickers and punters, general managers, minority owners. What about minority officials? What happened to hiring the best candidate? Why does everything have to be about race? Not only about race, sexual orientation as well. DeMaurice Smith said he is concerned that teams are excluding players and coaching candidates based on their sexual preference. How? Of course, he doesn't provide any examples. They never do. How does an NFL team discriminate against homosexuals? How do they do that? Unless they ask them directly at the combine, are you gay? Then how in the hell would they know? They discriminate against transgenders. Oh, because that's such a great idea. Put a biological woman who thinks she's a damn man on an NFL field. That won't end in tragedy. They'll only have to make that mistake one time. DeMaurice Smith mentioned that he is troubled that John Gruden and Bruce Allen were so comfortable. They were comfortable enough to be discussing the things that they were discussing over an email. And you know what? I'm troubled by it too. I'm troubled by the lack of privacy. These were private emails. They were not meant for public consumption. DeMaurice Smith said, we need to start holding people accountable for living up to an acceptable standard of human interaction. Here's the thing though. This was not human interaction. This was private emails between 2 friends. You mean to tell me DeMaurice Smith, Bomani Jones, they have never said something to private about somebody that couldn't be construed as racist, homophobic, off color? Everyone has at some point in their life. And if they tell you they haven't, they're a damn liar. In a tweet, DeMaurice Smith said that the Gruden emails prove the fight against racism is not over. This shows there is a belief that people who look like him can be treated as less. This story's been going on all week. I have yet to hear DeMaurice Smith reference a time or an incident or a situation where John Gruden treated him as less. All I keep seeing is fake outrage over words, not actions, words. DeMaurice Smith said he wants the NFL to start matching its actions to its words. The league should be more diverse, more inclusive. That's all they talk about. That's all they ever talk about. Diversity, inclusion, equality. Let me tell you what the NFL would look like with equality. Each team would have an equal amount of white players, black players, Hispanic players, Asian players. While we're at it, throw in transgender players, gay players, bisexual, pansexual, omnisexual, dogsexual. We'll make the league a nice orgy of woke diversity. Since we're all about equality, everyone would be paid the same. And since we want to make it fair, there are no winners and losers. Each game ends in a tie. Hell, we don't even keep score. That way, there's no hurt feelings. There's no disappointment. Everyone is included. Everyone's a winner. The truth is, you can't have diversity, you can't have inclusion in competitive sports because we're not all equal. In the NFL, the best of the best rise to the top. Teams don't assess players or coaching candidates based on their race or sexual preference. They judge them on their talent. It's okay that black people are better athletes in most cases than most white people. That is okay. It's okay that white people tend to be better on the offensive line, better kickers, better punters, better tight ends. That is not racist. It's just what is. The woke have ruined the NBA, and they're trying to ruin the NFL. If anything, sports should prove there is no systemic racism. The NFL and NBA have created more minority millionaires than any other industry in the world. Yet somehow, it's racist. You guys let me know what you think about this. Do NFL teams make hiring decisions based on race? Sound off in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe. Click the notification bell to receive all notifications from the channel. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com, KC_BTL84 on Twitter. I'll see you guys tomorrow.